Hello, hello, hello. It's Father Aaron O'Rear, the Dungeon Minister, and welcome to a live stream and an unboxing of a very cool looking game, Villains and Vigilantes. This is a really awesome thing. I hear the dog doing something. Let me just make sure. No, the dog's here. That's one of my kids upstairs. Okay. Hello there, Rob. Hello there, Midnight's Lair. If you're out there, Shadow and Sun, if you're still around. I see the comment ones from much earlier, but if you're still around, hello to you as well. Let's just let some other folks get in here before we start on up. How's everyone doing tonight? I hope you are well. I'm doing all right. Hey, you're here. Good evening, John Stewart Keller. Glad to see you're here. Midnight. I sent you a message over there on Facebook. If you would like to jump into the stream, actually, that would be awesome. And so let me know, and I'll shoot you the invite. I'll just go put the invite over there anyway. And if you want to, you can go over to Facebook and find it. And there you go. And then you can hop in if you like, if you choose to. So, yeah, let me just find out if all of my notifications out there worked. I think so. Letting people know what's going on. Excellent. I'll see you here soon then. So we got 6 people out there. That's Fabu. I'll wait for Midnight to pop in, and then we'll go from there. Meanwhile, I'll set some stuff up. First of all, I want to let you all know, yesterday was Canada Day. Fireworks and all that kind of good stuff. The dog went slightly crazy. Not really. It wasn't bad. He wasn't awful, but he's had better nights. But it was Canada Day, and that's nice. That's always good. I'm going to take that off there. How goes the convention sign up there? It's coming along quite well, actually. A lot of the games, not a lot of the handful of the games are already full, like that. Other ones are on their way. So hopefully this all fills up pretty quickly. Well, I mean, actually, you kind of want it to. What you want early on is you want the sign up for the games to get within 1 or 2 of being full, and then to leave a couple of spots open for the latecomers. That's always the way to go. You work for Canada Day in Quebec. Oh my heavens. It is crazy. Did I already say hello, Shadow? Hello, Shadow. So I'm back in the green room, in the inner bowels of the Dungeon Ministry building here. We have studios, we have editing bays, we've got film archival, film storage, we've got the meme room where we make the memes, we got the media clips where I go and I source the pictures that pop up on screen. But back there in the green room, Midnight is waiting. So I'm going to just briefly introduce him. Midnight is an old school gamer. He's one of us old grognards. And back when I was jamming with Beck-Me, he was playing V&V. There was a time when every new role-playing game had to be something and something, Tunnels and Trolls and Castles and Crusades and blah, blah, blah. And V&V, Villains and Vigilantes, fit right into that. So that's the peanut butter to his jelly, and he's been doing videos now about Villains and Vigilantes and about role-playing in general. Like, he doesn't just focus on the one thing. He's been doing a lot of videos, not a lot. It's a relatively new channel, but he's been doing covering a lot of ground, though, in those videos. I'm babbling, so I'm just going to go ahead and add to the stage our guest tonight, Midnight.
Hello, Father Aaron.
Put on some headphones or I won't be able to hear you. There we go.
Hello, Father Aaron. How you doing today?
I am doing well, Midnight. How are you?
Not bad, not bad. How did Canada Day treat you, other than the dog freaking out?
Other than that, it went well. The church where I'm the rector, we always have we're in a very small village, Glen Williams, and the location for Claricon register today. And because it's a small village, the church plays an outsized role in the village, and so we always have a float in the parade, and it's a small town parade. Like there's a cement mixer, the cement truck in the parade, because someone in the village owns a cement company and he enters it. It's that kind of thing. So it's fun. It's charming. So we're always in the parade. In former years, the church actually hosted fireworks. Oh. We would go out and we would buy, the commercially available family firework shows you could buy. Mm-hmm. We'd buy the biggest ones we could find, and we'd set them off. We have a beautiful property with a river going alongside of it, which you can see if you come to Claricon. Register today. Yeah. And the thing is, it wasn't as big as a professional show, but it was so close, it looked professional. But they've passed a bylaw, so we can't do that anymore. So that's why I was home with the dog. Instead of the dog freaking out at the church, the dog got to freak out at home. Anyway, so that's now you live in Montreal, do you not?
Yes, I would. Well, I live in Laval, just outside Montreal, but
fair enough.
Easy to say Montreal.
Yes, under I assume the same quirk of laws about moving day being July 1st.
Yes.
But my wife and I were just talking about that earlier today. She had a friend who moved to Montreal, and she was there helping her move, and how crazy it is. All the moving vans everywhere, people throwing furniture out of windows just because it's cheaper to break it than to move it.
Sometimes, yes.
Yeah.
I spent the last 2 days moving my adopted daughter out of our home and into her own place with her fiance.
Right.
That's what happened. The previous tenants left a whole bunch of stuff in the house, and we had to just chuck it on the lawn.
Yeah, easier than moving it, right?
Yeah.
And in Montreal itself, it's made so much harder by the fact that so many of the places have stairs outside.
Yeah, and in some of the older parts of the city, they have windy staircases. Yeah.
Yeah, on the outside, though, the moving is just insane. It's insane.
Moving a fridge up one of those is an experience.
I'm sure it is. I heard it from my wife, and I'm like, I don't. That's an experience I could do without, frankly.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine being a Montreal moving company saying, okay,
it's Christmas in July for them.
But except for the rest of the year, for 364 days, they need minimal staff. Mm-hmm. 3 guys will do. Mm-hmm. But on that day, we need 500 employees.
Oh yeah.
That day.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to catch up on some chat here. One of us says Rob Rabowski there about being one of the old grognards. And he also works for U-Haul. So Canada Day must be nuts for him. So you're, you would be down. Rob, are you in Montreal? I thought you were in Montreal. At any rate, or is it just that you have to get so many U-Haul trucks to Montreal for that day and then back
it's not
again?
Just Montreal, it's the whole province.
It's all of Quebec. Yeah, really, it is. Yeah, it's all of Quebec. Shadow and Sun says V&V is one of the best games ever. Well, this is promising.
Yes, it is.
Static Sky TV. I remember when that came out. I love that when someone will say something about, like some antique, you think, oh, I was alive when that came out. Pong. I remember Pong.
I had a Pong. Yeah.
Did you?
Yes.
I saw one of those memes today. It was like, how old are you? And it had Gen 1 and it was Pong and a couple other systems. Then Gen 2 was like Atari and Intellivision, and Gen 3 was Nintendo. And I thought, well, I was Gen 2 secondhand while everyone else was on to Gen 3 because we didn't have enough money. So I was Gen 2, but during Gen 3.
Yeah. That Christmas, I got the $6 Million Man action figure.
Oh, the one you could see through the eye in the back of it?
Yep.
Loved that. I did not have that, but my aunt, who's only 2 years older than I am, she had that. And yeah, they're looking through the back of the eye.
Yeah, look at the back. Yeah, and you could roll up the skin on the arm and see the
Yes,
circuitry.
the circuitry. That was cool. Cool stuff.
Yeah.
So we have some Howdy Midnights from Shadow and Sun from Rabovsky.
Howdy, Shadow and Sun.
John Stewart Keller saying V&V featuring Captain Midnight.
No, just straight midnight.
Just straight midnight. Gen X bait. It sure is. I like the old song, I'm a Dreamer, Montreal. 75% of moves happen in Montreal that weekend. That's absolutely it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Bear the Gen X GM. Speaking of superhero games, a superhero game aficionado and creator himself. V&V was his first superhero RPG.
Yeah.
So Robovsky is this other Canley for the customer service. There you go. Used to manage social media service. Now it's mostly chat support.
Like there's videos. The V&V box set is very prominently right behind his head on the shelves.
Yes. In fact, I have to look for it now that I'll know what it looks like.
It's an orange spine. You'll see it.
Orange spine?
Yeah, orange spine.
Fabulous. Yeah, Bear is Gen 1 on that measure. Yeah, I was old enough to be Gen 1, but we didn't have enough money, so I had to wait till later. Got the Pong from a garage sale. 2600 was at my cousin's house.
Yeah.
I don't understand moving day. Is that a tradition? Leases up in the USA? I don't understand. So Jay Tyler, Quebec has, it's a law in order to, from what I understand, and I'm an American living in Ontario, so, you know, my understanding is limited. But from what I understand, it was a law designed to protect free people from being evicted in the winter, from having to move in the winter, and designed so that kids could complete a school year before moving day. They could spend the whole year in one school. Is that somewhere near?
1st. Back when I was younger,
yeah,
it was May 1st. And then when I was about 5 or 6, they changed it to July 1st.
Okay. So it's a movable feast. And it on that day, like all the leases come up.
Yes, essentially. Leases are signed from July 1st to July 1st.
Yeah. So if you're going to move
90% of the time. Yeah.
Yeah. They must be able to do ones at different days, but
they can, but they're highly encouraged, and the whole system is set up for July 1st to July 1st.
Yeah. So on this one day, everyone who's going to move is moving.
Yep, pretty much.
Not houses so much, but apartments, anything with a lease.
Houses too, but mostly apartments. Yeah.
But I mean, like a rented house. But if someone owns a house, that's not under that. But
you meant when you sell the house, you move.
Yeah. Boston has a moving day, but it's in September. That is a nicer time of year to move. Although September can be hot, I cannot imagine lugging everything. Well, actually, I can imagine. We moved in July when we bought this place, but it wasn't that bad that year. And Jen has had the pleasure of interviewing both Jeff D. and Jack Herman.
Oh wow!
With a smiley face.
I had the pleasure of play testing Mighty Protectors version 3 of V&V with Jeff D. and a friend of mine from England, Tim Knight, the Acrobatic Flea.
The Acrobatic Flea? I love that.
That's his first character in V&V was the Acrobatic Flea, and nice. It stuck with him, much like Midnight was one of my V&V characters, and
gotcha.
It stuck with me.
Yeah. Cool. Static Sky TV says makes sense in Canada for the weather. You'd think, but it's actually horribly hot and humid here.
Oh yeah.
It's
as far as dry as Arizona gets, we almost get that muggy and damp.
So we recently just got a central air installed. And it turns out it's actually cheaper to run that than it is to run window units. But it's just that capital jump, right? But the guy, it comes with of course, the air conditioning pulls off humidity. And then I never really thought about it. A window unit just drips right out the edge. But this one collects it in a thing and then sends it over to the sump pump.
Yeah.
And today, Fleetwood, my eldest, comes running into the house in alarm saying, Papa, you got to come look at this. The house just vomited. The sump had activated. It never happened before. It had never happened before.
Well,
but
at least you know
it's working. It's working. The air conditioner pulled all of the moisture out of the house, and it filled the sump up. I think we've had the thing for 2 weeks, So it gets wet here. Bear play tested also with Jeff. So there we go. You are 1 degree from Bear, and Bear, you are 1 degree from Midnight.
We've met. He actually he was looking for a rare copy of a game book for Mutants and Masterminds First Edition.
Okay.
I happened to have a copy laying around. I wasn't doing it with, so I gave it to him.
Cool.
He came by.
There you go. He's asking where you're located, Midnight.
You
It's
know where
just-
I'm located, Laval.
It's just after 11:59 and just before 12:01. That's where he's located.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, Laval. Everyone knows Midnight's in Laval.
Well, he and I stood on my front lawn and had a conversation.
There you go. Well, Bear may be like me, not having the best memory in the world. Now he knows how he knows you. There you go. See,
There
Bear?
you go. Now it's clicked in. Yes.
Kindred spirits, Bear. I'm thanks again for crooks, he says.
You're welcome, sir.
There you go. So you're on today because you sent me a package, which was very kind of you. And this is what it looks like. And I love how you got your logo there.
Well, yeah, hand drawn.
Hand drawn. And it's like
for that authentic feel.
For that authentic, well, for that old school feel. It's like I gotta say, it's like when you're in high school or middle school and you've just gotten a new game and your friend wants a copy but can't afford one, so you hand copy out the important bits for him and then you draw the logo on the front for him. That is what that is. That had that feel. I love it. Bear's now asking if you're coming to Claricon, which is held at the end of October, and you can register now.
If I could, Bear, I would. I would love to. It's a matter of finances and transportation and lodging.
I bet you could carpool with Bear and or Grumpy Old Slan. Another Montreal. We have a lot of Montrealers in our group. We do. But you sent me this, and it was very generous of you, and we're going to open it now and see it.
Alrighty.
But just before I pop it open, give me the Coles Notes version of what I'm about to open for those out there who don't know V&V.
Okay, I've sent you what I'd like to call. Unfortunately, I didn't have a box set I could send you, but I sent you the entire contents of a box set.
Cool.
And extra. So you have you should be receiving a reprint of the first edition rules. Okay, it's historical.
Okay.
It's not the greatest at first, but the second edition is better. You'll have a version of the original second edition, plus the GM screen that came with it, and the photocopiable character sheet and an errata sheet I included. There's not much errata, but I included it.
Right.
And also the latest reprint of the second edition rules, the 2.1 version. On top of that, you should have in there a reprint of the Crisis at Crusader Citadel module, which is probably the most played module in superhero role-playing game history. It's to keep on the borderlands of superhero games.
Gotcha. Thanks for translating for me.
And I think I sent you Most Wanted 2, 3, and Organized Crimes, and one other source book. And I also sent you another adventure, which I'm choking on the name right now. I can't remember it. So there's a good selection of starter stuff there.
There's a whole whack of stuff. That explains the weight of it, because it is a truly heavy box of package that came. The parish administrator, because whenever anything's mailed to me, it inevitably arrives on my day off. It doesn't matter where it comes from and what day the person mails it on. You could mail a package on Tuesday and Wednesday, Thursday and Friday. They would all show up on Monday, my day off. I don't know why, but she texted me saying a parcel came for you.
A parcel.
Anyway, I'm going to open the parcel now.
All right.
And see the wonderfulness. And I'm going to probably ask you questions. Because I have never seen this before. So as I work,
it's very much an old school game.
Yeah.
It should be up your alley. I will give you a warning. The print is a little tiny.
Which is getting increasingly important at our age.
I know. But so
it is what it is. That's cool. All right.
It's also in a bubble wrap sleeve, I believe.
Yes, it is. All right. Actually, my boys are as probably as excited about this as I am. My eldest was hoping I would do the live stream earlier today so that he could watch it. I said, they do archive, and then I'll have the stuff you can see.
Go
The
through
stuff.
it, yeah.
But he wanted to watch the unboxing.
Well, that's what I told my wife and my daughter. I said, well, he probably is waiting until 10 o'clock so the boys go to bed so he can spring it on them tomorrow.
Well, I did say I would leave it out for them to look at. Oh my! Oh, this does have such a. Okay, this is the first thing I saw as it pulled out was this, and
oh yes, the back covers. The back covers are fantastic.
That's wonderful stuff. That is nostalgia right there. This is what my childhood looked like.
Mm-hmm.
This is what our childhoods looked like. Okay, holy cow!
Like I said, you may not have played superhero role-playing games, but if you've enjoyed comic books at all in the last 40 years, you'll probably get a kick out of it.
I have at our age, Static Sky TV. When you are of a certain age, as they say. So the top on here.
That's the original. That's the original second edition. Yeah.
The original second edition. Look at that. Mm-hmm. Look at that. That is so cool. So this is the whole rule book in one.
That's
volume.
The game I start. That is the whole thing.
The whole kit and caboodle. So what I'm going to do, so I stop holding things up like that. I'm going to try to change the location of my microphone. Sorry for the thump there. And then I'm going to, because we don't need to see my face. There we go. We can lay out the books and see them proper like. So the fill-ins and Vigilantes are going to up the light quality a little here too. A little brighter. All right. Wowzers indeed. Superhero role-playing game revised rules, Jeff D. and Jack Herman. Okay.
Yeah, like I said on the show, it's unfortunately it missed out. Oh, the first edition missed out on being the first superhero role-playing game by a couple of months, but
yeah. What beat it?
A game called Superhero 2044, which apparently either didn't have character creation rules or had very bad ones.
Okay.
I've got a copy on PDF somewhere, but I've never looked into it, to be honest.
Now, you can always tell an old school game, introduction, and a little bit of text here. It's just there. Here's all you need. Go. Mm-hmm. And you're right about the text being small. It is pretty twee, but
it's still legible though. I mean,
it is. It's legible. If I take my glasses off, I can read it. And it is. So is this character creation right away?
Right away,
boom, you're in.
Yeah. The default conceit of the game is because remember when it was written, it's assuming it's going to be teenagers playing it. So it says, look, why don't you play yourselves as superheroes?
Cool.
Which is fine. But you don't have to play superheroes yourself as a superhero. All you have to do is turn to the back, and there's the NPC generation rules, which describe full character creation.
Okay. So you can create from the ground up.
Yeah.
But this assumes
you were just on it a second ago.
Okay. But this assumes that you're creating the front of the book. It assumes you're creating yourself.
Right.
Essentially. Cool.
Yeah.
So, and powers. I remember you were talking about you actually roll for your powers and weaknesses.
Yeah.
And then you end up taking away a power at some point.
Yeah.
Like
you roll a D6, you add 2, and that's the total number of powers you can take. But amongst let's say you roll a 5. So you're going to have up to 7 powers. So it's 3 to 7 powers, somewhere in that range would be, with a D6. So let's say you rolled like I said, you rolled a 5, so you have up to 7 powers. Then you could roll individually on those tables. And you roll a weakness.
Right over here.
And then you have to get rid of one of the powers and take the weakness, or get rid of 2 powers and get rid of the weakness.
Aha! So there is a trade-off of an amount of, and the neat thing is you've rolled the powers. So I like about that is it isn't that you roll 2 powers and 1 weakness and that's it.
No,
there's negotiation involved, and you've already rolled the powers, and so as soon as the dice lands on it, you begin rolling with it. Like you're thinking what that's going to be like.
You start making up a concept. Yeah.
And then you've got to give one of them up.
Yeah.
You surrender something right away.
Yeah.
There's devices, magic, psionic items. So some of the things may not be a power, like an Iron Man.
No, exactly. A technological device or device would be something technological or mechanical.
Right.
That's where you would get your power armor. If you
Gotcha. Yeah, that kind of stuff.
And
that's cool.
The powers are very customizable. And you're encouraged within the game to, if you have a more limited number of powers, to adjust the powers so that they're more reasonable compared to the other players. If the player has 5 powers and you get 2, well, we'll buff those 2 powers a bit so that you carry your weight a bit better.
Right. So it's not, my power is the power of interior decorating. That's what.
Yeah, exactly. My wife has, but
hey, normal humans do, but superhumans ought to have something a little more impressive. So, I'm just grabbing a few of these off of here. These powers: absorption, devitalization. Ray, I like that.
Essentially, it's a vampiric power.
It
saps your energy.
Death touch is fun.
Yeah, my very first character had that one. He had that and heightened expertise.
Heightened expertise,
which means I was really good with weapons and I could kill with a touch.
So you were good with weapons and you didn't need them because you could just touch people.
I could just kill people with touching them. Yeah, like I said during one of the shows, I said when your main power is death touch, everything looks like a corpse on the hoof.
Yes. When you talked about this, there's flame power and ice power. And you talked about someone who gets both of those.
Yeah, you could potentially get both of them.
Yeah. So sonic abilities, size change, mutant power, mind control, weakness detection. So you could detect another character's weakness.
Yes.
Wings. That's pretty straightforward. Or structural weaknesses. Cool. Yeah. Like where to hit the building so it'll collapse.
So it does most damage or collapses or whatever. Yeah.
And then in the devices, armor, bionics, flight, force field. So flight would be a device that allows you to fly.
Yeah, you could literally have a jetpack or
yeah. Or what's Falcon? The guy with is that Falcon?
That would be a form of that would be a form of jetpack. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or wings.
Telepathy, water breathing. Very cool. Magical powers is similar stuff. Telekinesis, vehicle. I like that. Magical psionic items and a vehicle is included. So a magic vehicle. Yeah, there you go.
Flying carpet, which is broom.
These are cool. Or it could be like a Harry Potter car.
Or a Harry Potter car. Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. And the art again, I mean it's
Jeff D art. Yeah.
It's very cool stuff.
You probably recognize it from some of the V&V modules.
Yeah, it's the style. Yeah. It is the style. So that's cool. And there's all sorts of stuff here about your strength rating.
There's a little bit of math involved to figure out hit points and stuff, but it's not extraordinarily hard math.
That's all part of these old games, right?
Yeah.
So you got all sorts of stuff about you detecting danger and reaction modifiers, carrying capacity. So it gets granular here too.
And carrying capacity is neat in this game, unlike a lot of games. It's a factor of your weight, your strength, and your endurance.
Okay.
So it's the more you weigh, the more you can lift. The stronger you are, the more you can lift. So it's the interplay between those 3 factors.
Right. So
someone with the same strength and same endurance who weighs less won't be able to lift as much.
Which makes sense. I have to say, I mean, it's one of the things I like Beckme for its simplicity. I like the basic D&D for its stripped down simplicity. But the idea of a halfling and a human having the same strength is a little silly.
Yeah.
Like how much power could a halfling put behind a punch when, he's literally half the size of a human being. John Stewart Keller says he has the power of inferior decorating, according to his wife. Swords on the wall. Flared bootleg style. All right.
Is there something stuck to the page there, or is that a misprint?
I don't know. Where are you looking?
That big white block in the middle of the. Oh, that's a table. Okay, that's a table.
Yeah, that's a table. Yeah.
Okay.
There are dots there, but it's
there are dots. I couldn't see them on camera. Okay. I thought I sent you a book with a misprint. I'm like,
it's all fine. Now it goes in very granular on a lot of this stuff, and all of the powers, all of the devices, etc.
But it's as
are
granular as it
described.
looks. It's not as granular as some of the more modern systems.
No, it's like it. I guess what it does is it explains what they mean.
Yeah,
When it
but
says animal plant control, this is what it would imply and how you
exactly.
use it. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's really no different than spell lists in D&D.
Exactly.
You got the list, and then you've got the breakdown of that says, okay, well, this spell shield, this is what it mechanically does. Yeah. Good evening, Nordic. A halfling's punch can feel much stronger depending on the target. Well, that's true. That's true. Yeah, Rob says that what you thought was white space looked like missing art. It's not. Yeah. It's not. It's just a table with some lines running through it. Yes, I suppose if a halfling is at the right height, it can really be pretty deadly.
As the old movie quote goes, "Hit him in the nards." Yeah.
Hit him where it counts, kiddo. That's more of the excellent art. Oh, I gotta figure out which way I have to move to get the page centered here. Yeah. That's very cool. That's very cool. The thing about this stuff is, I will noodle over this for like a week, 2 weeks to figure it out. Fleetwood will look at this, and by the end of the afternoon, he'll be able to correct Jeff D on some of these things. he'll be able to talk to Herman and say, "Look, you made a mistake on page 37.
Yeah,
looking to get into a new game, Father Aaron." Well, just might be. I thought about, people are always talking about other game systems, and as I say, Fleetwood will learn a game system like that. So people have sent me stuff, and he has picked it up and run it for his brothers. He's run Baptism of Fire for all of us. He's run Adventure Conqueror King for his brothers. He's run Conan for his brothers. Burning Wheel, we never quite got off the ground. It's a fascinating book to read.
It's a very fascinating book to read.
But I've heard it described as everyone's favorite game they don't play.
Yeah.
But he learns these things, and he knows all these systems, and I sort of have trouble when I wade into a different. As a player, I can enter it. As a player, I can play whatever. Just tell me what to roll, when to roll it. I'll figure out enough to play. But to run the game, if it's like D&D, I just get too mucked up in, oh, this is like this in D&D. But I think a superhero game is far enough away from D&D, and from what you were describing, the mechanics sound different enough.
They're different, yet that they have a certain similarity. Yeah.
Yeah. I probably will not. It's like when you meet two people with the same name and you can't remember one of their names because it's the same as someone else. But
and you're looking at the combat table right now.
Yes. Defense types, attack types. So it's a matrix, defense and attack. And so I guess it's you compare. I'm defending this way, I'm attacking this way. Bing, here's our number.
If you're not using a defense, you take the number in brackets above.
Okay, cool. And there's again more art. I'm loving the art. It's really classic. Yeah, it's really classic. Boom. You need those special effects words, right?
Yep.
Boom. That's awesome. You played this back in the day with a group. Yeah. How many people were in your group?
Oh my gosh. At its heyday, we must have had 8 to 10 players cycling through on a regular basis.
Yeah. Now, were they all there all the time, or was it sort of?
No, I mean, we would people would like if we would try to assemble a quorum. If we were in the middle of an adventure, we'd try to keep the same characters together. But if we were going on a new adventure, quote unquote, or there's a new caper happening, then whoever showed up, well, then they would be locked in for that particular leg.
Oh, for the length of that, yeah. Well, that mission.
Unless there was a place for another character to join the party, it made sense.
Well, and I suppose
it have to make sense. We have this infamous story of how we had a player who wanted to join, and we kind of needed the extra manpower, and he'd made up a character, and the character was Native American, and we were fighting something. We were near a lake, and he goes, and across the lake, you see an Indian in a speedboat.
Mage's Musings would call that a contrived character entrance.
Yes, it was extremely contrived, but it's been memorable.
Excellent. But I mean, I suppose also with superheroes, it would be probably easier to explain than like in Dungeons and Dragons, where your characters are either on foot or on horseback or something, unless they're a magic user and they have a fly spell.
Yeah.
Like it's going to take them forever to get to the 13th level of the mega dungeon that you're in. Whereas if you're a superhero and you're battling bad guys through the city, it's just a phone call. Yeah, meet us at 3rd and Main. Oh, I'm on my way,
Plus, you could have all kinds of reasons why you might have been, for example, he was a mystical character. He would have been dispatched there by his spirit totems.
There you go. There you go. That's fabulous, too. The sort of
Skrull devil-like, yeah.
Yeah. What's the character I'm thinking of for that guy? It's a DC character.
Oh, are you thinking of Blue Devil?
No, it's I don't know. My knowledge of comic books ranges mostly into Marvel, very little into DC, but he reminds me of someone.
Okay.
But it might have been from the cartoon, frankly, because that would be the largest exposure I had to DC was the cartoon. So those
are the NPCs
generating the non-playing,
non-player characters are right there, yeah,
and all sorts of tables for it. So over here we've got people talking about Traveler being a good game system.
Oh, Traveler's excellent.
Someone is running Traveler
where you can die in character creation.
Yes. Well, someone's running Traveler at Claricon this year. There may be 2, but I know there's at least 1 game of Traveler happening. And not played contemporary Traveler, just classic Mega and Traveler 2300. Well, there's a lot of varieties of Traveler there.
Yeah, there have been.
A whole comic page in this.
Yep.
In the middle of that, Shakaw. Yeah, I always love the sound effects. I try to do that on the channel when I say pow or wham or slam or something.
Yeah,
I try to find a cartoon
thing
to pop up. My mind is half comic book, I think, or cartoon. Probably more like a Looney Tunes cartoon. Cool. So this is and then we have some advice on being a superhero and game mastering.
Yeah,
D&V.
Yeah, and then the example of play, which is fantastic. You've got this character called Nomad, who's described as an intergalactic busybody, who basically loses his intergalactic library card and has to go retrieve it from the circus.
There's his down, up, down there. There's his library card.
Yeah, and he has to fight a guy called Mammoth and his henchman Heater Jenkins.
Heater Jenkins. I think Heater Jenkins is smoking, which is something that just you would not see.
You would not see anymore.
No, that's fabulous though. And the Nicotines. Is that a gang name?
The street gang, yeah.
Iggy, Bruno, Rico, Dude, Fang, Tony, Bull, Lucky Strike, Scar, Toby, Leon, and Wild Bill. These are cigarettes. These are cigarette-inspired nicknames.
Yep.
Yeah, again, would not happen today. Would not happen today. Kabong. A good kabong to finish the book.
Yeah.
And then
there's the character. There's also a standalone sheet I gave you too.
Cool. Because I don't like to put these on the copier because it bends the book out of shape. That's awesome. And then again, the back with the comic book on it. That's just the rule book.
That's the whole rule book. Yeah, like I said, there's the 2 other flavors.
Right. I won't go through everything in that amount of detail. It will be here till tomorrow, but I'm going to show off a lot of the stuff here.
Yeah.
So is this
That's the GM screen. It's always been a little flimsy, but it's serviceable.
Cool. So it's got stuff on all sides.
Yep.
Shoot. Encounters and occurrences, sentences.
Oh yeah, there's an entire paraphrasing of the New York State criminal code in the book.
So you can go to prison in this one.
Yep. You'll know what to charge your villains with, and there's a whole procedure for they're going through trial and what they get sentenced with.
Cool. Of course, I suppose you could get charged as well.
Yeah, you could. It's entirely possible.
Yeah. Now this one,
That's the newer, more let's say the errors have been refined out of it. It's
okay,
not a huge change. It's just some small nitpicks and typos and stuff have been corrected. It was
okay,
also because they got the license back to the game, so they were able to reprint it. Actually, they kind of reprinted it ahead of schedule, and that's kind of what forced the battle. Because the
oh,
Jeffy and Jack Herman had lost the license for a very long time, and they had
really?
to fight Fantasy Games Unlimited to regain the license.
Well, it's
Yeah,
good that they did.
yeah.
Let's see.
They didn't get to keep the name. They're using the name under license, but the mechanics and the game system reverted to them.
Gotcha.
That's why the new
Gonzalo.
one's called V&V 3 Mighty Protectors.
Ah. Let's see, just classing up. Some more talk about travel, and it's Gonzalo recently bought most of the V&V books at double price books. Double price? Isn't that supposed to be half price books? One of the rare geeks that doesn't get into superheroes, says Nordic Maelstrom, but he does like Batman. He's a hero. The super part is the detective bit. Just want to find a game and recreate the Justice Force from TMNR number 15. I don't know what that is, but that's cool. I used to play a lot of Palladium's TMNT, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I assume. Does Palladium have that? Cool. So this is the same rule set, but
Yeah, just cleaned up.
updated a bit.
Yeah, just cleaned up.
Cool. And I have to say, cleaned up in more than one way. I don't see any smoking characters.
Yeah.
It's a no smoking game now. Let's see.
That's the first edition reprint.
That's
Yeah.
the first one. So you're saying this one isn't a very good game necessarily?
It's much more basic, and I never experienced it until recently when I purchased it for nostalgia's sake, just to be completist.
Right.
But it's a much more basic game. It was, like I said, the whole origin of the game apparently was that Jeff and Jack were having an argument as to who'd beat who, the Human Torch or Spider-Man. So they ended up designing
Like you do.
to figure that problem out.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought they'd play it out.
Yep.
Cool. Yeah, you can see even just the layout.
Type settings different. Yeah.
It's the way you'd lay it out if you were just typing it on a
Mhm.
typewriter. You just knows no columns. It's
No columns.
Yeah. Cool. Still looks cool though. Still has art in it, and this seems to be important to combat.
Yeah, the characters are typically portrayed in the game on a 1-inch square.
Mhm.
Instead of, you can use miniatures, but for use of you can get 1-inch squares where you draw like a mug shot of your character, and then
Right.
you've got your facing front, side, rear. Front,
Cool.
no penalty to hit. On the sides, you're at +2 to be hit, and from the back, you're at +4 to be hit.
Gotcha. Which makes sense, you know. Get back here, Pharaoh. It's your deal. Yeah, the comic book stuff. I love the inclusions of the little stories and the little vignettes in there.
That's part of the charm of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Now let's see. This is Crisis at Crusader Citadel.
That is the keep on their borderlands of many superhero. I think many Champions players played that until
Really?
Yeah.
It's a warehouse.
Mm-hmm. There's a warehouse, and then there's a whole superhero lair that's been taken over by the villains.
Okay, Crusher Crime Wave.
Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, the Crusher Crime Wave team, all sorts of super villains. These are.
Yeah.
Are these good? Yeah.
Those are the villains. Yeah.
They look pretty cool. I say I might want to be on their team. Not that guy. He does not look cool. He looks.
When we played that, I ended up killing him.
Did you?
Yeah.
Good job. Good job.
You know, those are the heroes.
Nice. These are the heroes, and you're saving them.
Yeah, you're saving them.
Cool.
And there's the second wave of the villains.
Okay, so this is. A mace. Shocker. That's cool. That's cool. This is amazing, Midnight. There's so much stuff here. It keeps going, folks. It keeps going. Most Wanted.
Yep, that's basically it's a Rogues Gallery book.
Okay. So it's
just a book full of villains to draw from. All pre-scoped.
That's awesome. And the nice thing about this is if you're in a game and your players just go off in a direction you didn't expect, they suddenly decide they're going to jump on, hey, Grumpy, another Montrealer. They just decide they're going to jump on a train to another city or something. You
assemble a villain encounter very quickly.
Yeah, you just go, and that city is run by Madame Phrygia. Yeah. Well, thank you, Gonzalo. Might use V&V for my Flaming Carrot campaign. Flaming Carrot.
That's an old comic book.
Yeah, there you go. Flaming Carrot campaign. Well, if this inspires you to do so, then Midnight has done his work in the evangelism of V&V. Most Wanted Volume 3.
There was no Most Wanted Volume 2.
There wasn't.
Nope, it was never.
They just they released 1 and 3 just to mess.
No
with
one knows if it was a typo, then 3 was supposed to be 2, or if 2 was the manuscript was lost, or whatever. But there was never a 2.
Never. That's funny. That's hilarious and wonderfully quirky. It's, I just get I like to imagine them laughing at all the schmucks who are casting around desperately looking for 2. There's the
so
you're talking about little cards.
Yep.
Little tokens.
Yeah.
Cool. And vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
Neat.
With vehicles and the counters, it's very easy to stage a battle on a gridded surface.
Right, yeah. Well, here you have Kiloton. He must be really big.
Yeah, he's 4 times the size of a normal person.
Perfect. That's cool. That's cool. Nosferatu. Reminds me of my first year of university was when Vampire the Masquerade came out, first edition, and I bought it at Gen Con, which was still in Milwaukee at that time. And that was the only other role-playing game I ever ran, I think. Yeah, because I really haven't run other things, because then I got out of gaming and didn't get back to it until recently. I was in my late 40s, and by that time my brain was less flexible.
That's why we play games, to keep our minds flexible,
to keep our minds young. Just tried watching that new movie Nosferatu. Didn't like it. Didn't care for the acting. Well, there you go. I haven't watched a movie in so long. Flaming Carrot rooting out crime. Have a steady supply of holy hand grenades. Flaming Carrot versus man-eating cow. That's nice. I haven't.
We played that one, and that was a lot of fun.
Did you?
Yeah.
I wanted to watch the Nosferatu movie, but now I'm kind of glad I didn't. I haven't actually been to the movie theater since Dune 2. I did catch that in the theater, but I watched very few movies. The circus.
Mm-hmm.
And circus themed bad guy or good guy?
All bad guys. That one, yeah. You play the good guys in this one,
right? Ooh, and when you say bad,
yeah,
you mean bad.
Yeah, some zombies. Yep.
No, Nordic. It wouldn't be the kind of thing I'd put on for family movie night. Joker 1 was the last movie I ever went to in the theater for. Yeah, that was a while back too. That was a while back. And more of the counters. That's cool. They all came with these, eh?
Yeah, most of the modules came with counters, yeah.
That's awesome. Cool Lair. Ooh, there is some scary stuff down there.
Yeah.
There's the camera. There we are. The second, well, Nordic. If I went to see the second Hobby in the movie theater, the second Hobbit in the movie theater, that would be the last movie I went to as well. I'd be like, nope, I'd be out of there. So I don't blame you for that one. It's cool stuff. This is very cool.
The adventures are actually quite well written.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an important bit, because if you get, if you get a good system and then you don't get people, because we've all seen real, clunker modules, like the Endless Staircase. There's a fellow who did a thing about, what's your favorite module? And of course, Keep on the Borderlands was taken right away. And, these things were all gone soon. But I chose the Endless Stairway because I like it for how really the concept. It's the kind of thing that you say, oh, wouldn't that be cool? And then when you sit down to write it, you find there's really not that much there. Like, you want to talk about a railroad, it's a spiral staircase. You can't get off of it.
You can't get off. Yeah. That was a Planescape module, if I'm not wrong, right?
It was for the companion book of Beckme.
Oh,
but it was aimed at. Yeah. They may have redone it. They may have redone it.
They redid it for Planescape also. Yeah.
Yeah. They may have redone, like, tried to reclaim the idea, but even the artwork, the cover art for that module for Endless Staircase was so bad that I don't know if it was Larry Elmore or Jeff Easley, but they didn't take credit. They credited
they didn't
it.
Sign it. Ooh.
No, they credited it to Jack. What was the last name? Jack something or something Jack. I can't remember. It was a name that they used when they didn't want credit.
Oh,
yeah,
that bad. Eek. You don't want your name associated with a product. It's got to be pretty bad. Someone should have told that to Stephen King when he wrote Maximum Overdrive.
Well, hindsight. Grumpy Old Slant. I thought it would be a picture of Michael Jackson in a leather jacket. I don't. Oh, the. Actually, I don't know what that's referring to, but that's funny anyway. Describe the combat system again for V&V. So if you could describe the combat system quickly.
Sure. The combat system is fairly simple. It's a roll under system. So 1 is a critical, 20 is a miss. And you basically find the appropriate row on the chart with your defense type, if you're employing one, and you cross-reference it with the attack type that you're using. And that'll generate the 2-hit number, and you want to roll below it. It's that simple.
There you go.
If you don't are using an active, you don't have a passive or active defense, you're just not defending, then typically you'll use, there's a number written above the attack column in a parentheses, and that would be your base to hit.
Okay. Good night, John Stuart Keller. Or, as Grumpy Old Slant says, villain tries to hit hero who punches him with a pow. Yep. That also works. Here we go. Nordic Maelstrom. Here's a shot from left field, Father Aaron. If you really want a really good module, look at Undermountain 1 and 2, based in Waterdeep in the Forgotten Realms. Oh. Although Forgotten Realms is a totally other set, and it's designed for, it was aimed at AD&D. I had a copy. I think someone, I traded something for it. It was back when we were... As kids, we did a lot of trading. I'll trade you this for that. I got a lot of Star Wars stuff and G.I. Joe stuff that way, and I lost a lot of Star Wars and G.I. Joe stuff that way. And I think I traded for that box set of Waterdeep specifically, because there was a whole box or book of Waterdeep. Oh, yeah. And I had Forgotten Realms as well. And I remember I read enough about Waterdeep to port it into my homebrew Beckme campaign, just as a sort of like big city. They never, the players never got there though. They always were on their way to Waterdeep but never got there. So, but Undermountain 1 and 2, I don't tend to do, at least for D&D, I don't tend to do modules. But what I do is I mine them for ideas. So I might mine Undermountain.
That's the best use for modules.
Yeah, you get ideas out of them, and then Forgotten Realms are a compatible. Another thing, Robowski, the settings can be to a certain extent system agnostic. right? I mean, if they're just describing places and peoples and governments and things like that. A little warehouse here. Oh, so it happens on a ship, or involves a ship of some kind, the Sea Dragon. Cool. Love the back. That's fabulous. Midnight Men.
Yeah.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah, there you go. No affiliation.
No affiliation. Oh, this is not a sponsored link. I'm being paid to review this. Midnight Men. Oh, that's awesome. Cool stuff. And Alone into the Night.
Yeah, that one actually has some Canadian content in it.
Does it?
Yep. There's a couple of Canadian villains and I think a Canadian superhero team in there.
Oh, cool. Have a good night, Rabowski. Bargle.
Night.
I did port Bargle over just because I knew that when my boys all did the solo adventure before we started playing, although my youngest was too young to read it all at that level. He could read, but not everything. He was like 6. So Fleetwood DM'd Bob Johnny through the solo adventure. I mean, he just did the reading for him. So they all hated Bargle, but my wife didn't. And so when we were playing and Bargle came up and the boys all Bargle, my wife said, why do we hate him?
Oh, okay. She didn't play through it, so she didn't have an idea. Okay.
No. And then of course when you show her the picture of Alina, she does not have the same reaction that a young boy does.
She's not a teenage boy.
Yeah. It's like, this is not as exciting. So these are awesome, Midnight. These are so awesome. Thank you so much for this.
Oh, you're
welcome. This is going to be a lot of fun. That's cool. Hey, that looks a lot like what's his name in the Watchmen, the owl character.
Yeah.
Night Owl. Looks a lot like Night Owl. The Night Raven. Hey, close enough. Dominion Day. There we go. It was just Dominion Day yesterday.
It was just Dominion Day a couple days ago.
See, and they're burning the Canadian flag because they want the old red ensign back.
Yeah, they want Dominion back. Yeah,
they want Dominion Day back. Very cool stuff. Very cool stuff. I will definitely let them know this one's got Canadian content. I have the sneaking suspicion. I'm going to come back up to my. I'm sorry to do this to everyone, but I'm going to come back up to my face. I know. It's unfortunate, but
it's all right.
I do raise extra money this way, for the poor, unfortunate wife who has to look at this face. I have the sneaking suspicion that what's going to happen is that Fleetwood is going to see these and he's going to read them, and he's going to dig into them so far that I'm going to have to say, look, you run the game, I'll play it, for 2 reasons. One, I get to play a fair amount because the boys like to DM each other and me and stuff. But today it was Bob Johnny, my youngest, was DMing me in a sort of, it's a Beck Me 5e mashup kind of thing. He's running, and we were attacked by 3 Chimera, just swooped down on us as we were traveling. Random encounter, and he rolls up and like, what are you doing to me? That's a random encounter.
That's pretty deadly for a random encounter.
It is. Now I'm level 10, so it's not as bad.
Okay.
I mean, we did dispatch them with I've got companions who travel with me.
Okay.
NPCs, but yeah, that kind of stuff happens a lot with him, and then Fleetwood runs Call of Cthulhu for us.
Okay.
And they run all sorts of stuff for each other. They did all sorts of stuff. Did any Space Marines pop out of the Chimeras? No. Alpha Flight to the rescue. Reed Fleming, the world's toughest milkman. Baron Ludwig von Hendricks as well. I don't know who Baron von Ludwig von Hendricks is, so that's to my shame, I am sure. But no, I have the feeling that I'm going to be playing this one.
Well,
And
I'm sure you will enjoy
kind
it.
of hoping to. I'm kind of hoping to play rather than DM it or GM it, because it looks like a lot of fun to play. Looks like a
It
lot
is.
of fun
It
to play.
is. In my opinion, it captures the action of comic books very well. I won't say it's the best, but for me, it scratches the itch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
And I've played quite a few games, and I've read quite a few games, and that one, uh, like I said in some of my episodes, I said I kept looking for a replacement for some reason, because like there's got to be something newfangled that's better, and I never really found it.
I found that's pretty much the case. That the newfangled, I don't find anything that they've improved on the wheel, as it were. Oh, that's a nicer light. That they got it right the first time, and it's that's sort of the golden age of it, right?
Yeah.
70s, 80s. That was when these things were really rocking. It kind of carried on into the 90s. I have to say, I mean, Masquerade was innovative and interesting, although it was a little clunky.
New and different.
It was new and different. It was a little clunky as a game, but
especially the first edition. Yeah.
Yeah, but it touched, I guess what it is it touched a nerve that nothing else had touched. I mean, D&D had moments of dealing with the idea of evil and all this kind of stuff, and what is good and what is morality in a sort of fallen world.
Yeah.
But Vampire went right at it.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Right at it.
Well, it either went right at it, or your characters became fanged superheroes.
Yeah. You sort of did have that option. It could become D&D with fangs.
Yeah, exactly. So either the player, I've had experience with both sides. Mm-hmm. Either they got the pathos and the drive of the game, or it became just another power fantasy.
Right. Yep. Yeah, it can. Yeah, a lot depends on who's running it
and the players.
Yeah. It's Grumpy says that. Okay, so the Baron is who Baron Ludwig von Hendricks is who Bargle works from a star. That's right. I saw that in the companion book there is a tournament. I think it is, or there's a high level sort of domain level play there.
Okay.
And the Baron shows up in that, I'm pretty sure. And Bargle does too. It is sort of like
it's the return of Bargle.
Yeah, and one of these high-powered guests brings this murderer as his assistant, and this sort of diplomatic tension of what do we do about this, right? Played Aberrant a few times and thought it was fun, says Nordic.
Yeah.
Gonzalo likes Hero System.
I mean, there's a system out there for everyone's flavor, everyone's choice.
And this is your jam. Now I'm going to put up, in case any of you don't know, Midnight's Lair's YouTube channel and it's linked in the description of this video in this live stream. So go down and right click that, open a new tab, and subscribe over there to Midnight's Lair. You have got, I think you're just starting out here.
Just the 4 episodes so far. I was supposed to record another one this week, but Canada Day.
Canada Day. Oh, I know it. Just getting in to record the thing and then to edit the thing. I think, how am I going to get this done and acknowledge the existence of my wife and children?
Yeah, that can be the issue. Yeah.
And my job.
Yeah.
If the bishop's watching.
Yeah. The editing, I don't mind the editing so much. I kind of enjoy that.
No.
The recording could be so painful.
See, I'm the other way around.
Oh yeah.
The recording. I mean, I just take my lunch hour. I go down there, boom, bing, bang.
Oh, I envy you.
But it's the editing, because so many things pop up on the screen. It's so much going on.
You have a lot of
and if I would, and I'm my own worst enemy, because if I'm the one who could simplify that. I'm the one who could just make it easier, but I don't.
If you saw the number of retakes I do just getting out the first sentence. Oh.
Well, what I learned to do, because when I first started recording, I would record, and if I messed something up, I'd go back to the start and start over. And it was killing me. And then I realized, stupid, just start back a few sentences and then put a cut in there. And so
Yeah.
that's why my video, I'll be, back here, and then, I zoom in.
You're doing zoom cuts to cover.
Zoom cuts to cover the now sometimes I do the zoom cut for tone.
Yes.
Because it's like I need to lean in or pull back, like I'm talking real quiet, and then I go back to big description.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times it is to cover the fact that I've flubbed something. I've said it and then realized, no, that's not how it happened. Like I ascribed the action to the wrong character, or I misspeak, I missay something, and I realize I've been saying, that they I can't think of anything right now because I can't. But I should move this back where I can actually pick up my voice. But I'll and so I'll just go back and start over. This last one has a number of those things where I flubbed stuff up so badly. There's a bunch of little cuts in there. But oh well. But no, you've got 4 videos out.
Yeah.
And plans for more.
Yeah.
Obviously. Excellent.
Yeah. I'm taking a cue from you. Once we finally get the campaign off the ground, I'm going to try narrating some adventures, much of the style of the Dungeon Minister, and see how that goes.
I look forward to that. Meanwhile, you've got good advice that some of it is, I mean, you're telling it from a superhero role-playing game perspective.
But I try to make it applicable to any genre. Yeah,
well, that's what I found about the city one in particular. I mean, it was very you were talking about it from the perspective of a superhero adventure city, and so it was modern, but you gave room and acknowledgement enough to, you could take that and you could apply it in a medieval setting. You could apply it in a cyberpunk setting. It was open enough. Yeah. So that's pretty cool.
Because most of the games we play, the underpinnings are the same. It's basically it's a bit like a stock car. It's got the same chassis. You're just putting a different shell on top.
Right. Yeah. Well, precisely. I mean, I often thought, you wouldn't even really need to come up with different systems. You just replace spells with superpowers. You replace swords with guns, and maybe you change the number of dice. What kind of dice you're rolling, but for the most part, some people do. Yeah. Actually, a friend of mine, James Keck, he wrote. It's here on my shelf. He wrote Simple Sixes. You can angle that so it looks like Simple Sexes, but it's not. It's sixes. There we go. Simple Sixes, and it's a D6 mechanic. But I mean, as the cover implies, you can apply it to. He's got,
it's multi-genre,
medieval and superhero and space. It doesn't really matter. You just. And then he released things to apply. Like if you want to do World War II, here's tanks. Here's.
Well, there's 2 types of multi-genre or generic games. There's the ones that grew out of superhero games, because being a superhero game, because it's a kitchen sink game, you can have anything from horror to supers to magic to aliens to whatever. Right. That will cover all bases. So many of those, like Champions, evolved into the hero system, and other. And then you have the other ones like GURPS, which started off as a generic system, pretty much designed from the get-go.
Designed to be generic, yeah. Hey, Nordic, have a good night. Have a good night, my friend. So much of it, and so much of the stuff, even if the system is totally different, the general tone and advice can be the same. Because a city is going to occupy. Cities have always occupied a particular place in human civilization, right? The collection of ideas, the collection of wealth, the specialization that you can do in a city where you can't do in a village because you just don't have enough people to buy your, handmade doorstop, but in a city, there's enough people to buy it.
And even then, some of the rules and some of the things I spoke about can be scaled down to apply to a town or a village.
They can, some of it can. Grumpy here says, I just start the sentence over. He's talking about editing. My videos have tons of cuts to remove all the hums and ahs. Yes. Now, one thing, Grumpy, your videos don't show your face. It's harder to do those cuts when there's a video, because I did over the lockdowns for our church. I had to do videos for Sunday worship, so I didn't want to be on screen, so I used like classic paintings of religious topics and scenes and non-religious. I just took classic paintings because I knew they'd be public domain, and I just recorded audio. And yeah, you can cut sentences together. You can say, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and you can cut it together and it comes out X, Y, P, D, Q, right? Because you can mix everything around. But when there's a face attached, suddenly you're hopping all over the place because the cuts,
or when,
right?
like you and I, when we talk with our hands.
Yeah, you gesture like this,
Oh boy.
and the next time you say it, you gesture a little differently,
Your
and you're
hands
like,
just disappear.
yeah. But yes, I know you can just chop it up, and I have this last one. I chopped it up brutally. And the other trick I have for covering edits is I'll put up a full screen picture. Like, instead of something popping up within the frame, I'll have like a picture of the table when we played, the minis laid out and the terrain and stuff. I'll fill the frame with that. Nordic says if you say something wrong, just change the question to suit the mistake.
It's a technique.
Yeah. And Grumpy again, you replace swords with guns, and then some idiot shows up with a knife at a gunfight. I trust a wop to bring a knife to a gunfight. Name that movie. That was a bad impression, but name
Ooh, The Untouchables.
Well done, well done. That scene was so, like, watching that, because this is the scene when, frankly, if I'm spoiling it for you, it came out in like the 80s. You should have seen it by now. Malone's in his apartment, and the mob is after him, and this intruder comes in, and you think he's going to get it, think he's going to get it, think he's going to get it. And then it turns out he knew the guy was there all along, comes at him with a gun, and then he gets it anyway. Oh, gutting scene.
Mm-hmm.
Gutting scene. Grumpy Old Slan says, it's one of the reasons I don't show my face. It does make editing so much easier. That, and to avoid lawsuits from people with screen displaying my ugly mug.
Yeah.
You're a very handsome. You're very distinguished.
I had my own doubts about that.
Not at all. Very distinguished as well. I remember meeting Grumpy for Claricon the first year. No, it's raining here now. I guess I'm not taking the dog out for a late night walk after all. The first year of Claricon, and he said he was coming early, and indeed showed up hours before we started to help me set up. God bless you, Grumpy. And I was in my office, and I looked out, and there's this gentleman walking the grounds of the church. Like, I bet that's Slan. And it was. Mm-hmm. So he's a very handsome man. Don't let him fool you. At any rate, they're midnight. It is, it's not quite midnight here yet. Another 45 minutes, but
it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for the invite.
It's been a lot of fun talking with you. And everyone, again, check out Midnight's channel. Give him a sub. Give him some love.
Thank you. I would appreciate that. And I'm trying to steer as many converts as I can your way.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. And again, thank you for the absolutely amazing,
absolutely welcome,
huge stack of old school goodness here. This is fabulous. Thank you so much. That is going to get much play.
Your videos got me through a lot of dark times after my cancer, so I just felt I owed you a debt of gratitude. So,
well, I'm absolutely touched to hear that. I mean, I know I've read it in comments, but hearing it is another thing altogether. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Because it's part of why I do it. It's part
between you and Bear, you guys got me through the dregs of chemo and radiation.
Bear's an awesome dude. He's an awesome dude. You have a very good night, Midnight.
You too.
Everyone out there, have a good night as well. And I'll see you all on the flip side. And
bye,
go
folks.
find yourself some V&V.